Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a smashing good time. January recruitment month.
Come along, I come along in the ring.
I would not want to hear that. I would not. We got great this year at SPD.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
What's up?
Yo!
Hey, y'all.
Thank you guys for the patience. Sorry for the delay. SPD had a little bit of a delay. I had to take a shower because I was drenched in a little bit of the bubbly. So, man, what a way to follow up an awesome Blood and Guts. I mean, this just kept packing more and more and more punches. And what a way to end the show as well, man. I'm thrilled with this. It was nonstop action. This is Dynamite Download episode 34.
Ooh,
I can't believe it. I mean, we were just talking briefly before, Crayfish, and I mean, I just can't believe like the depth that AEW has right now. And, I really loved, hearing the crowd when you saw Moxley at first. I mean, it looked Sharonica. How was it, man? Thank you so much for joining us as always, leaving that. It looked sold out. It looked huge. It looked loud and proud.
Crowd was great tonight.
It was another great crowd.
It was an amazing show, and AEW gave the live people in attendance a lot to love. Obviously, they didn't have to struggle through some of the commercial picture breaks like we did at the home audience, so they had to see nonstop, incredible action. Absolutely from the get. This show just was hammering us back to back to back with amazing matches and segments. SPD, let's dive right in, man. I got John. Can you give us a little introduction? I'm going to let you introduce this first match.
So the first match featured Yuji Nagata and Wild Thing Moxley.
Woo, baby, was that awesome?
The Wild Thing was kind of a little surprise, the entrance on that, but
I love that.
He successfully defended his title to his New Japan and wrestling title. So
US,
hard fought battle for sure, and a good way to start the show.
Yeah, and I mean we'll get into that one when we get into it, man. But I'm still feeling the forearm shots to my jaw, man.
Kicks, man.
That was amazing, just a stiff match. And no wonder why New Japan gets a lot of love, man, because those guys definitely bring it with that strong style. Did New Japan proud. It's funny because we go from that to another side of New Japan, and that's where we get to see the Young Bucks kind of going back to their elite days back in the day with the Bullet Club, and really leaning into this heel vibe, brother, man. The Young Bucks are on another level right now. I am eating up all that they have to offer, whether it's on Twitter with their new bios, all their danglies. I mean, tonight was just an absolutely perfect performance by the Young Bucks. Really leaning into the fact that they're retiring the first AEW Tag Team Champions in company history. They're putting two legends. Later on this week, we're going to get into Friday Night Fights and Flights, and we're going to be talking a little bit about your top three wrestlers who just never got over that hump, who you felt like should have got that big push that they never got. And, you got two guys in SCU who both qualify for that. Christopher Daniels, I remember Christopher Daniels watching those days in Impact Wrestling. SCU, Kaz, and Frankie Kazarian tore it up tonight. Daniels was a bloody mess. He gave it everything he had. Was a really incredible match, and really another way, like I talked about it, man, a dastardly way to put down legends. Adds another feather, or I guess for you, a dangly to the headband on the Young Bucks, man. Oh my gosh, did they get over on the heel side tonight? Whether it was in the ring or on the mic, man, they were on fire.
Absolutely. And, this one we kept going back and forth, and especially after that promo Kenny cut on Orange Cassidy, where he's going to see him whenever and whatever. We really thought OC would steal a victory, but we didn't know how, because how do you beat someone like Pac? So it made sense the way it was, and we're going to get an exciting triple threat, a double or nothing out of it for sure.
Oh man, I mean, that's better than what I could have hoped for. The way they executed that one, I can't wait. You know me, I can't wait to talk more about that match with you. The execution of that match, the way it played out, was just picture perfect. Tony Khan, thank you so much from this fan. I absolutely loved the way that match played out, booked perfectly. And then talking about booked perfectly, you get to see Thunder Rosa back in action, who we really miss here. We get to see Thunder Rosa this week just absolutely dominate in the ring.
Oh, it's so great.
And you and I both, we love the pacing that Thunder brings to her matches. Just breakneck speed, just absolutely looks like she wants to beat the piss out of you when she steps through those ropes. And she brought it, man. And then next week we get to see Serena Deeb. So really, guys, NWA sharing that talent, and we're going to see, we get to see Serena Deeb in action next week on AEW. We missed her tremendously. It was beautiful to see Thunder back. The Dynamite Download team was just absolutely beaming when we got to see DMD cut a promo and then segue into Thunder Rosa kicking some ass. That was an amazing back-to-back segment. I loved it.
Absolutely, man. And then, of course, the main event, it's hard to say this didn't steal the show or the highlight of the show, but there's so many points that could have stole the show. We have ourselves a new TNT champion, and Miro, game over. It is Miro Day. It is the new TNT champ, and that was a lot that happened in that segment afterwards. And it was won't steal the thunder, but it was very well fought, both men, and it was perfectly done, and storytelling was phenomenal. So let's bring it right back to the beginning, where we had the Jon Moxley, his IWGP US Heavyweight Champion, defending his title. Me personally, I don't know much about Nagata. But seeing it, I know he's 53 years old, and he's saying, he's in great shape for his age.
He wants to wrestle till he's 70, and he looked like he could. It was absolutely
he really could.
Incredible.
He's in really great shape, man. I have to before we talk about the match, man, I have to give props to Excalibur for being so knowledgeable about wrestling business, and especially New Japan. I don't know much about New Japan, and for him to continually be so smart and tie in the story and give us the background and the history, like he did with the women's title tournament over, when he was a commentator on that, he did such a great job, and such a good props to him, man. He deserves the best. He's very, very intelligent, definitely a glue on the commentator team. So I got to give a lot of props to him, man. But it was hilarious. I was like, is this another one of those, sound issues that AEW was having? When I heard Wild Thing on Jon Moxley, I'm like, what's going on? Is the NBA playing, or is there the
no,
MLB?
Ethan Page wasn't on
Okay.
screen, so you're good. No, honestly, man, and AEW is just continuing to go above and beyond to make the presentation great. You think about what we get to see now with Ruckus's original theme musics are always on point, and they're always fantastic. But when you get to see AEW pulling out all the stops, giving Jungle Boy his theme song now, and Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends get the Pixies, and now you get to see Moxley coming out to Wild Thing. What a perfect fit to his character as a Cleveland boy. And I know Moxley's from the Cincinnati area, so from those major league movies, they hit home for me, and so I was popping hard, dude. I loved it. I jumped off the couch. I was like, oh yeah, baby! I was shaking my fist. I loved Wild Thing. I loved it, and it fits Moxley's approach to wrestling, not just in AEW, but in his entire career, man. Mox, dating back to his CZW days, dating back to when he first was breaking into the business. This is a guy who literally, you name it, he went through it. This dude was willing to put himself through hell. I've watched stuff where you would be covering your eyes. Yeah, this guy is a legend for a reason, man. Moxley is quickly very quickly establishing himself on a global scale as one of the top guys in professional wrestling, and a guy that
Right.
people want to work with. He clearly gets it. Moxley's matches always, and this is what I love about him, as he's grown and matured over his career. He still showcases that edge and that violence and that desire, like sort of that like throw it balls to the wall type of mentality. He'll do whatever it takes to win. But so much of his matches are wrestled in a way, or fought in a way, that are safer than they ever been. Moxley really, I mean, he had a little blood tonight, but you could tell you put a 53-year-old man in who was in great shape, right? But you're going to put him in the ring with somebody who you trust. And Moxley is the utmost professional. This match was fought back and forth. A lot of stiff forearm shots went back and forth. It was telling that Mox ended up bloodied in this match, and blood was a theme tonight's show. But Moxley really, I felt like, showed respect, and we saw at the end of this match where the two bowed to each other sort of in the ring and kind of gave respect not only to each other but to the belt itself. But this was a good side of Mox, man. This was a really, like, for me as a fan, you get to see a little bit of those babyface vibes coming through Mox. And, Mox is always kind of that, like, that rebel, that kind of guy, like a rebel without a cause kind of mentality. And this was a very clear, focused Mox. And I think it's evident when Mox has the belt, has a title, when Moxley has the gold, it almost kind of dials him in a little bit. It gives him a little bit more focus as a character who's always kind of bouncing around this chaotic Tasmanian devil type of character that he is. Right? Like he gets a little bit more of that focus, and I think that him as a prize fighter makes a lot of sense. I thought the tonight's show match led off very hot, very stiff, back and forth blows to each other. But I felt like Mox really, really funny. I felt like Mox really, really, to me, showed a side that is refreshing, and I want to see more of this type of Mox going forward.
For sure, and I'm a sucker for good chops and good kicks, and we saw a lot of good kicks too, man. And that is, you nailed it on the head. Mox being a prize fighting champion, like that does make him so much more, and he's going to be prize fighting a Double or Nothing, in that tag title match. So that is very well said and a good way to kick off Dynamite. And speaking of prize fighting champion, I think, Cody Rhodes promo, man, really was so deep and layered and so many things, man. And he called out, I'm sure you were beaming ear to ear, calling out, it seemed correct me if I'm wrong, Shad, like a 16-year-old immigrant, hence the owner of the company and your company that you work for, called out Pac being the best in the world, kind of,
this
nonchalantly.
I was beaming, bro. I was beaming,
and then
ear to ear.
Ends with, talking about the country. It makes it a go-go just that much more of a dirty, rotten heel. And so just if you're like against the US, and it's so adding so much more depth to this storyline with, anyone that's like heel 101, like talk bad about the town or the country,
Yes.
But it works so well. It'll never not work, really.
Right. I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's great. And just the way he ended it for one night, the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. Oh, that was so powerful, man. Powerful.
I feel like Cody is he's one of the best promos in all of professional wrestling. I absolutely love whenever this man's on the mic. He knows
Amen.
he knows how to, I feel like, strike all the right emotional chords, and this was absolutely perfectly played. I feel like he even kind of acknowledged how the pride in America, the patriotic promo was going to come off as corny to some folks. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter, and I think it's very, very common these day and age to forget how blessed we are. What a beautiful country this is. No place is perfect, but I do feel like it was a very telling promo, very
Right.
powerfully delivered promo by Cody to kind of talk about how Anthony. I love that, like how that little dig at Anthony Ogogo, how he didn't come here for the English
Right.
dream. He came here for to live out the American dream, because he knows. I mean, this is a land of opportunity for people of all shapes, sizes, colors, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
That's what makes this country beautiful. And there's no other place in the world that is as diverse as the United States of America. And I think AEW's roster is really starting to showcase that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Cody talked about how, Tony Khan, like son of an immigrant, right? And you look at his own family, Cody's own family now. Like I thought that was a really beautiful line that needs to be remembered in this. Cody and Brandy are going to be making a beautiful baby.
Right.
And break in a time in which we're, racial tension is such a hot button topic on the news, and you'd think that we're just this angry, violent country. Like this is a beautiful example of what love can do. Love can conquer hate, and Cody's life is a great example of that. Cody and Brandy are going to have a beautiful baby girl, and I think that Cody delivered a lot of lines here that struck me on an emotional level. I was engaged. I love Cody on the mic. I felt like he really delivered.
Yeah.
And I think the way he ended it, like the heavy heart of, he's not the American nightmare. This, only he and his brother can carry that mantle, that legacy of the American dream.
Right.
That really felt heavy. And you could tell Cody is really good at conveying his emotion. Really beautifully put promo by Cody Rhodes tonight. And I think, I want to hear Anthony Ogogo. I know Anthony's the type of dude, who kind of lets his fists do the talking for him.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to hear Anthony's comeback. I have a feeling that QT Marshall and the Factory were listening just like we were. And I want to hear what they have to say. I thought that Cody laid it all out there, man. The American Dream versus the Governor, brother. I think that's going to be a great match at Double or Nothing. And it's going to silence a lot of critics, dude. I think that there's a lot of people out there who, are questioning Anthony Ogogo and his presentation to this point. I think AEW's done a great job in protecting this man, presenting him in a way that reminds all of us of what he's capable of, a former Olympic boxer. I think that having him go against really the cornerstone of this company in his first big match. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Anthony. I'm really excited about the way that Double or Nothing is shaping up, and this is a great example of why. I've been eating up the Factory versus the Nightmare Family feud, really digging that, and I think that this is going to be really the icing on the cake. This match is going to be that good. I really am geeked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is still going to be far from over, but this is kind of, I mean, QT Marshall is the leader essentially, but I think this is a marquee match for sure, especially after all the terrorizing that Gogo has been doing to Cody. So, but speaking of terrorizing, the Young Bucks, man, they cut some mean promos. Both guys cut some mean promos on BTE. This was a tough one to swallow because of the stipulations on there. And really the best I've seen SCU, I mean, the Young Bucks looked amazing as well in a long time. SCU put on a clinic. They went out with a bang, that's for sure. Kazarian was phenomenal. Some of the stuff he was doing, that springboard, you're from the outside inside stunner. I don't even know what you would call that. Like, I love that move, man. Announcers did a good job, say this is kind of like the rubber match,
Yeah.
And because they split 6-6, career wise. But every single week, I look forward to seeing what the Young Bucks, how stupid they look, how much different they look, how many different danglies they look, and how far they can push it, because they really continue to push it, and it just gets better and better and better, man. But honestly, I think Kazarian stood out the most in this match for me. He really was like the workhorse of it. Obviously, Daniels is that brutal spot against the post and was just gushing blood pretty bad. Really made it more emotional. Him just like begging, and Young Bucks still didn't care, and they're continuing to cheat to win. I think that's going to be a theme that they're going to just live up to with their elite posse, especially with Cutler now, and then the Good Brothers. Like they're going to continue to cheat to win. The only gripe I had on the match, which we did see, after the commercial, was like they cut so quick just to that silly segment of trash in the locker room in the back, which honestly I don't think was really necessary. I think they should have focused more on SCU breaking up and them kind of hugging it out on a live versus being like during the break. But maybe they had to check on Daniels or something. But
that I was gonna say the only thing that I could think of SPD was Daniels was really bloody tonight.
Yeah.
I mean
that was bad. I rewatched that.
We've seen some blood in AEW. I mean we've gotten accustomed to seeing some color. Daniels was really, he was really gushing blood through in this match, and so I think maybe that quick cutaway gave the team their opportunity to double check, make sure that he was still okay, and maybe button some things. He was gushing things just to make sure that he was medically okay, because Daniels definitely got busted up bad tonight, bro. It was for this to be potentially the Fallen Angels' last match. As a guy, like for me, I know that I'll speak about like my fandom of Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. I loved watching those guys in TNA. I loved watching, dating back to that. Even me, dude, I loved Christopher Daniels when he was Curry Man. Ha! Spicy.
They were talking about that in the chat.
He was just like, Daniels is a legend, and to me, I really was a big fan of what TNA was doing in their early stages of that company with the six-sided ring and the X Division and really trying to transform North American wrestling. They opened up my eyes in a lot of ways to see different talents and a different presentation to professional wrestling, a lot more athleticism, a lot more focus in on the talent in the ring rather than the larger-than-life personalities and all those things. I have to give credit to Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian for, I feel like, doing their legacy justice tonight. For guys who have had long, incredible careers, it was a fitting match that they would go up against, truly one of the best tag teams in professional wrestling and probably our lifetime. SPD, the Young Bucks are a team that they're gonna be at the top of the list for a lot of folks, and it's no wonder why you felt like this was one of the best showcases of SCU. They're going against the Bucks, who don't really seem to have a bad match against anybody. These guys bring out the best in everybody. We've talked about it here at Dynamite Download week after week. We get opportunities that the Top Flight, the Acclaimed. You have all these teams who have made a name, kind of debuting at the Bucks' expense. And I think it was fitting that you get to put these legends in the ring with them and really tell a very compelling story. This image that you have here, where Frank, Daniel's begging, pleading for the Bucks, and the way the match played out makes a lot of sense for us as fans, right? SPD. You and I have talked about this a lot with SCU. Frankie Kazarian, very much still, even into his 40s, is an absolute workhorse in the ring. This dude can go with the best of them. He showed it tonight. He carried the weight while Daniels was busted up and hurt. Kaz was really going a 2-on-1 match for a lot of this match.
Yeah, he did great.
And I felt like that really told the compelling story of this team fracturing, falling apart. You saw them give it everything they had. Really, really was an awesome match. And then for me, before we throw it back to the next segment, SPD, I also loved how the Young Bucks did a couple callbacks to the HBK. They were really hamming it up tonight with, I'm sorry, I love you, with the Ric Flair HBK moment. That was fantastic. Very well played. These guys are absolutely trolling the wrestling universe right now, and they're doing it with a smile on their face. really enjoying what the Bucks are what the Bucks got going on right now. And that's coming from a guy who is an FTR fanboy. I like those old school teams. The Young Bucks in-ring style isn't necessarily my favorite in the world, but right. I love what they're doing right now. Their character work is absolutely on another level, and I love what the Elite is starting to become. Just like, I mean, like Kenny and Don Callis, like you talked about, dude. Just like
minus the Good Brothers.
Well, even them, I'm digging. Like
that's the train I can't get on,
dude. Like, let's be honest, big Luke Gallows tonight. His dangly was like an earring that my mom would have wore. And then he had the tie-dye shirt. I mean, they're starting to lean into it, and I think that their role is fine for what it is right now. I think that they're kind of like clearly the B team of the Elite, and that's all right. That's okay. You got to have some stooges in any good stable, man.
That's true. I know, but I just can't get on them, man. They're just nauseating on BTE. So, and it's not even funny, man.
I know.
But anyways, this is I asked you last week, and this was who you really most looking forward to, and the way this played out, like both guys.
What a show!
I texted you. I said no one should beat Pac. Period. Like ever. He is so good. In the ring, period. He is so good. I can't believe. I mean, like, first
my
off,
my man's on my Mount Rushmore, bro. I mean, I love him that much. I think this dude is so damn good at what he does, man. And I love when the commentator team, like you had said, Cody said it kind of casually in his promo. Tony Schiavone, when Pac was coming out to the ring, just pound for pound. There's nobody better than this man. And it's the truth, dude. Like, this guy is just damn good at what he does, man. I mean, just how crisp his offense is, the pacing of his matches. This match was like a bully, just beating up the young. Like, Pac literally came across like a bully in this match. He was just absolutely ragdolling OC for the majority of it.
Oh, my gosh, he dominated it. Like, it was so great.
You know that I was beaming. I loved this match. I thought it was perfectly played. It showed OC's kind of his underdog mentality and sort of his that dude he's always kind of even keel and chill. Yeah. And I felt like that played well in this match where, he kind of was messing with Pac at times and getting Pac flustered and frustrated. He stayed cool. Even in the heat of the moment. And an angry Pac is a very bad thing, dude. So I thought this match played out brilliantly.
I agree, man. But before I talk about the match a little bit, when was the last time we saw Death Triangle come out as Death Triangle? Because Penta was kind of doing his own heelish thing, and Ray and Pac were doing their own kind of thing, but there's still the Death Triangle. So I think this is the first time in a long time that we've really saw these guys come out together. So that was kind of cool. Yep. And, both guys are undefeated in 2021. But it really there's nothing you could do. It's live TV, but it was like instant commercial break. And then a second commercial break that really sucked the sail out of this match, even though the pacing was great. I mean, Pac's drop kicks to OC, just the whiplash alone probably can snap your neck. It's crazy. Pac's
snap on those drop kicks were so nice.
Just toying with OC the whole match.
He seemed to enjoy it, didn't he?
He did. It was just like, okay, give me a challenger. Like, that's what I'm waiting for Pac to do, is just to start destroying people and then just be like, give me a challenger. And I think that's kind of what, like, hopefully Miro does, just destroy people. I'm like, hey, where's my challenger? Then Lance comes in to swoop it in. But I definitely think he was hurt, like we were just chatting. But I thought the audible Don Callis coming out, not even with the shades on, maybe that was a quick audible to kind of buy some time and check on OC and maybe just, finish the match because of he really legit was hurt, or Pac's just too dominant and and he just hit him too hard. So I mean, as much as I love Pac, I wouldn't want to get in the ring with that angry son of a bitch. I think he was definitely taking out some frustration on OC tonight, and I think he was trying to prove a point. True, and he definitely proved a point, and it's no surprise. Like, I mean, I know it's a marathon, not a sprint, but like when everyone says Pac is like the best in the world, like
I mean,
at what point does he become the best in the world? You know?
When we interviewed Alex Reynolds, you remember? Like, I mean, he even said like this is the best dude on the
Do you
roster.
think he eventually should dethrone Kenny? Like,
Even
obviously, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But
even Moxley, I mean, was talking about how he'd love to do a tag title run with him. Like that's how much everybody loves this guy. For me, dude, like I think what I'm seeing happen right now is they're really leaning into Kenny and Pac are peers, and
right.
I think the way Double or Nothing's going to play out is going to be sort of like these two absolute workhorses, these two absolute studs in the ring are going to be kind of like almost angry and dismissive of Orange Cassidy at times. Like they're going to be so focused in on each other that Orange Cassidy is going to play like that nice foil to it at different points in the match. I really like how that's going to play out. I really think that like there's going to be so many moments where you're going to see Pac and Kenny focusing in on each other almost at an expense of the match, and Orange Cassidy's going to kind of swoop in and have those big moments and kind of catch them off guard because they don't take him seriously. I mean, and if you're and honestly, you heard Kenny last week laughing hysterically at the potential of facing Orange Cassidy for the title defense.
Right.
You saw tonight Pac just absolutely manhandle him. So you got to think Pac's, and this dates back to when they fought the first time. Pac kind of looks at Cassidy as a joke and an embarrassment to professional wrestling, and so you kind of see the writing on the wall. This is the story. This is where the story is going, and I think that there's going to be a point when Cassidy's going to kind of almost sneak that win, almost steal that win, and going to kind of catch their attention.
Please don't be a roll up.
But for me, if you're asking me, I mean, brother, I love what's happening in AEW right now. I mean, like the potential of Pac as a world champion and Britt Baker as the women's champion. I don't think that you could. I mean, if I was literally writing it out, I couldn't do anything better. Those are my two favorite wrestlers in the company, and really in the world. Britt Baker's my favorite women's competitor and favorite women's personality in professional wrestling. And Pac's my favorite wrestler on the planet, and it has been for a long time. So if you're asking me, man, I love where AEW is going with this. Do I think that Pac's going to dethrone Kenny now? No, I think that this is where you kind of have that triple threat stipulation where you still get the bang for your buck out of having Kenny and Pac go against each other, which is like for guys like me who just mark out at work rate and the intensity in the ring, you're gonna love that. And then you have that casual draw too of the personality of Orange Cassidy. I really love the way that they're kind of pushing it all together, and it's gonna protect the outcome. You don't want to see Pac lose one-on-one against Kenny, especially given their story. I mean, Kenny talked about it. Pac's one of the only guys on the planet who have beat him and really done it emphatically, and pushed Kenny to his limits. So you want to protect that story. And I think down the road, AEW is always good at giving us the breadcrumbs. Down the road, you give us fans that match. You give us fans that Pac versus Kenny one-on-one. I thought this was really well played. And Kenny sneaking in to try to cost Pac the match only further adds fuel to that fire of like,
he knows he's a threat.
Exactly right. He knows he's a threat. You can tell he's worried about going one-on-one with Pac. He didn't want any part of that. Really well played story tonight.
Yeah, man, it was a nice tip of the cap, and ultimately I think Kenny's going to win and pin OC for that. But like you said, if Pac was champ, DMD was champ, and the merch stores are full of bowling shirts, you're a set man.
That's it, brother.
You're full of the bowling shirts. So, after Hangman being essentially on TV like every single week and taking a brutal beatdown from Brian Cage, the Machine, this is the first that we heard from him, and challenging him at Double or Nothing, essentially challenging him, to leave Team Taz, kind of as well. So, Dark Order has their, Hangman's back, which I love that storyline. Dark Order has, Darby's back and Sting's back. So it's nice that they're kind of getting featured in throughout different aspects of this, because I think, hopefully they're just kind of waiting for Johnny Hungy to get a little bit more healthy so they can get back in the ring full force. They're featured on Elevation and Dark and stuff, but like I'm ready for Dark Order to be back in the grind of things. But so this was a quick, and then you got the little not jab, but an ode to Ricky Starks too.
Broke his freaking
Hangman.
neck,
I'm sure Hangman feels horrible. I mean, who wouldn't? Ricky Starks, the absolute baby.
You better get those in now, bro, because Starks is gonna be on the shelf for a long time, man.
But as long as listen back to like the Stone Cold Chris Jericho podcast, they were hurt, or he was hurt big time, and Angle was hurt big time. So, but they were featured every single week because they're top guys. So Starks could be featured, but still be very impactful. So that would be exciting stuff for sure. But now we got this episode set up Double or Nothing. So filled, man, it's insane. The stuff we got, obviously Britt versus Sheeta, Kenny 3-way, Young Bucks, Mox Elite, the Casino Battle Royale, Hangman versus Brian Cage, potentially a Stadium Stampede. Wow. So it was nice to hear from Hangman for sure. I'm excited. What do you think about it?
I feel like Brian Cage getting called out like that. I mean, that goes a lot with what Bonds has been talking about. Like this is he's been the Team Taz advocate of Dynamite Download,
sure.
but I think he recognizes that Brian Cage is starting to have this inner conflict that we've seen play out, and when you have Hangman kind of stoking that fire in his promo tonight, really challenging him, kind of asking him to stand on his own 2 feet, be a man, face me one-on-one.
Right.
That kind of challenge, that kind of call out to a guy like Brian Cage, who honestly I feel like he's underappreciated and not as respected as he should be in AEW, in the landscape of AEW. I mean, this guy is the machine. He's been a wrecking crew, and I feel like, as a former world champion in North America, hasn't been presented as strong as he could be. I think this guy is a real deal. I feel like Hangman kind of challenging his manhood. A guy like Cage is not going to take that lightly. Cage kind of prides himself on being a bad dude, like just like a wrecking crew, right? He puts in the work, and you could tell he prides himself on that. So I think this one is going to sting Cage quite a bit, and it's going to push him. And given this Ricky Starks injury, I feel like there's a lot of potential where this could eventually lead to Cage breaking away. I think that it just makes a lot of sense given the timing of it. Right. So definitely a good segment. Hangman addressing and the elephant in the room with Ricky Stark's broken neck was needed. For sure. I think that it'll be interesting how this plays out moving forward. The Dark Order kind of being pushed to the side, and Hangman just wanting that one-on-one match. I think that him having that rubber match against Cage and winning will go a long way in reestablishing Hangman in that pecking order again, which we all see Hangman kind of losing that match. He lost some momentum, and getting that win against Cage is going to go a long way in bringing him back up into the spotlight.
For sure. I think this is going to be another hard-fought battle, and hopefully, no other outside interference or anything like that will happen for sure. My favorite segment of the night, it's like a two-parter. First we saw the Inner Circle promo from 3 members of the Inner Circle, and Ortiz, man, that guy, listening to Jericho's podcast today, he was talking about Blood and Guts. I didn't get to finish it all the way, but it's a great listen to kind of get the story behind the scenes take and Jericho's take about Blood and Guts. But I really, Ortiz, man, he's fire. How he can be comedic, he can be serious, he can be scary. And we got some, Jericho talked about Ortiz Santana could barely walk after the match because he landed on a chair spot. So that's a legit injury. He's not in the penitentiary, which he probably could because of that fork, literally. So he was detained and arrested. And Jericho's mangled but still alive. But this was a great fire promo from all three guys. It's never over as long as we are here. We will never stop. And they want a rematch right away. And
well, it's not surprising to hear you loving what Ortiz brought because he's the best. So, no, I mean, like
I'm loving PNP so much every single day. I'm loving them more and more and more. Thank you for pushing them on me.
Thank you. I feel like Santana and Ortiz, like you nailed it, SPD. You said like they can hit that those comedy notes. They can hit they can hit those serious notes. They can hit those serious notes really hard. They got that like that street vibe to them that like any given moment you're wondering like, all right, like are these guys legitimately gonna hurt somebody? You know what I mean? Like they kind of bring that little extra intensity and swagger to it. This promo I felt like from the Inner Circle set the tone for later on that segment in the night. I thought Jake Hager did really well in that promo too. I feel like Hager doesn't get a lot of love, but I felt like Hager kind of brought it and kind of when he was driving home, we told you you'd have to kill us to stop us. And for him to kind of reiterate that, I feel like is going to – it set the tone for the later on where, the Inner Circle basically is now – are they gonna be killed? Are they gonna be put to bed? Are they gonna be put down? Because those are the stakes. Now that MJF got showered in his pink suit, got showered in champagne by Sammy, and was really the whole coronation of the Pinnacle was ruined by that moment by Jericho, which I know you had to just be beaming a little bit of the bubbly. They got doused in it, and I wonder how those $1,000 watches, thousands of dollars spent on those watches. I hope that they're waterproof because they got the champagne was just pouring over all these guys. But at the end, we get the stipulation really laid out quite clearly, and I feel like there's a debate on how this is going to go. I mean, we've talked about it at times in the past, man. The Inner Circle, are they going to break up? Are they going to break up? And now all of a sudden, everybody thinks that they're not going to break up. The Inner Circle's been around for a long time, brother. I could see it happening. I know that there's some people out there who think
would shed a lot of tears.
All good things come to an end, my friend. That stipulation, and it would be, again, we've talked about this, SPD. Be careful. Don't get too down because we've talked about, although we hate Maxwell Jacob Friedman, that dude is always one step ahead. He's always manipulating and I feel like that dude is playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. Yeah. He may have the Inner Circle exactly where he wants them. This is an opportunity like where he's he's got them desperate for a match with like a rematch. Mm-hmm. Jericho is clearly injured. Santana is out of the picture right now. They are vulnerable, and if we just saw it earlier in the night with the Young Bucks dethroning and basically dismantling SCU's careers.
True.
What a huge moment it would be, and really bragging rights for the Pinnacle to end the Inner Circle. Because where does it go from here? If they don't, what happens next? I mean, that there's a lot to be said. Did the feud continue on? I know you want to see more matches out of this.
Yes, you do right? too. I know you do. There's so much star power within this. You have to continue it. And like this was just the start of the feud of Blood and Guts. And you have 2 Dynamites to build to a potential Stadium Stampede. I don't think it is. I think this is too rushed. And I think to trade team wins, it even is a little bit too rushed as well. So I'm all for another great Stadium Stampede. That being said, if Jericho's injury is legit, that is kind of soon, or both guys, to have another brutal match team on team this soon seems a little short build. I loved everything about this segment. You know, I hope that we don't get Stadium Stampede just yet. I hope we get more matches, more sub feuds and things like that, and then another ultimate head of a complete 5-on-5 massacre.
So you want to see the Inner Circle say no to the challenge? Because I mean, like that's gonna. I mean, I don't see that happening.
I know, but then if Inner Circle says no, then the ball's in their court again. They're just going to keep attacking and force the Pinnacle with beatdowns to accept their terms.
I see I get what you're saying.
So they're not going to accept those terms, yeah, and they're going to force them to take their terms for sure.
I get it. But I mean,
mouth breathing pores.
I
don't
know,
boo,
MJF,
just bow.
Oh, God, he's such a jerk, man.
That crowd,
but I mean, like,
great.
to be fair, I mean, the Pinnacle. I know that you're an Inner Circle mark. You're a Max for the Inner Circle, but I feel like the Pinnacle have the upper hand right now, bro. I mean, they won at Blood and Guts, so know, like, if you want a rematch against the champs get to dictate who, like, when and where and the stipulation. I mean, I feel like it's only right. I know that we all hate MJF and he's easy to detest, but the Pinnacle did deliver, and I feel like we all want to see the Inner Circle get the revenge. I think if they come out, they accept those terms and they win, then I think everybody's happy. I think that, like, at the end, we all want to see. I feel like this feud, when it first happened, SPD, I go back to the episodes in Dynamite download history. You were talking about it at length. This is a feud that can lead to not just weeks of good television, but months of good television. Years of good television. Centuries, lifetimes. No, honestly, like, this is a feud that I still go back to the Yahtzee. You take a couple dice and you throw them on any combination of matches. Will give the fans a great combination, and we really haven't had those opportunities. We got to see Dax versus Jericho, we haven't seen a lot of those matchups that we are chomping at the bit for. I want to see Sammy versus MJF in a one-on-one environment. I want that, right? I want to see proud, like, Santana and Ortiz go against FTR. We want to see. I mean, I feel like, Sean Spears isn't getting the love that he deserves, but I feel like Sean Spears and Jake Hager could have a really nice match together. I think that the chairman is the utmost professional. And you put him in the ring with a powerhouse like Hager, I feel like those two guys could go at it. I just think that there's a lot of meat on the bone for this feud, and I tend to agree with you that, like, let's have them go 1-1. Let's get them tied up, and let's milk this thing into the summer, guys. I mean, this is a feud that whether it gets physical or tonight, like, there was no physicality, but just humor. Hard-hitting lines. There's just whether it's a segment, like, on the mic or in the ring,
right?
Both sides can carry the weight, right? Like, neither one is a weak link. That's what's beautiful about this. Like, both teams are awesome. Both teams are absolutely awesome.
There's a lot of great stuff that's going on in the chat. Like Scoots said that there aren't many face factions. It'd be too soon to break up, and then you can have them trade wins. Then the stipulation for the grudge match would be just for them to break up. So, like, if you do rush Stadium Stampede, Inner Circle comes out on top, then you give months of trading wins again. There's so much you can do with this. You just can't run it out. Like, there's no way that you need to rush this at all, because this was pure gold. I was laughing audibly and cheering at the same time to myself when the bubble bath, the little bit of the bubbly bath was happening.
I loved it.
And I love when
a bubbly bath. I was loving it.
when Vince McMahon got sprayed by Stone Cold, and even the milk bath with Angle, like just how they're flopping around like wet fish out of water, and how I love the guy, the Pinnacle flopping around, and FTR was hilarious flopping around as well. Man, they are great. Some pure gold comedy stuff, man. And
it hit on every note, didn't it?
Did it ever, man?
The demo gods delivered as always. I thought this was a home run segment, and it's going to lead to more great segments on the road. But speaking of home run segments, the DMD had another one. That's just what she does. She just produces gold everywhere she goes. This woman absolutely kills it. And she said it, bro. She is dialed in. She guarantees she's walking away with the gold at Double or Nothing. It doesn't get more clear than that. I was just beaming. Tonight was a show, and they always at AEW Dynamite. It's just so fun for me to talk about. But this was another show, man. I was just beaming, seeing Pac dominate.
Yep.
Getting to see the DMD just absolutely crush it on a promo segment with JR. Very intelligent
Phenomenal.
responses to JR's questions. And I felt like when Britt was laying it all out there, this is one of the things that I think goes on the competition side, on WWE side. They don't do this enough. But when your competitor recognizes, acknowledges, and respects their opponent, but then guarantees that they're going to beat them, it makes the match feel that much better. It's one thing to talk trash or to like have but a lot of times they undercut their opponents, and they kind of try to tear down their credibility. Britt made it very clear tonight.
True.
Sheeta has been a great champion. Sheeta has been a dominant champion. Sheeta is really, truthfully, what sparked Britt Baker to become who she is today. Gave Britt that extra edge, showed Britt, even with a broken nose, what she's made of. It made Britt dig down deep and prove to herself, broken nose and all, what she's willing to do to win. And I felt like that has been something that catapulted her, as Britt talked about. That match with Sheeta really changed the trajectory of Britt Baker's career. Right. And I think that we've seen it time and again play out now. Britt has a sadistic side to her. As beautiful and as intelligent and charismatic and funny as Britt is, she has a sadistic side to her where, that match with Thunder Rosa is one that I still feel like set the bar in AEW for violence and brutality. I think that match was harder to get through and harder to watch in some moments, really, than the Blood and Guts match. And I think that was I still get when I think about the thumbtacks, just there's just so much about that. So I felt like Britt really acknowledged and gave respect to Sheeta, but then was quick to say, all that being said, you've made this monster, and now this monster is going to absolutely destroy you. And I thought that was perfectly put. Britt is on fire, as always, in this segment, SPD. I absolutely think she killed it.
It was an absolute home run. I love the setup with JR, good old JR as well. But honestly, it also touched on the parts where we're all thinking, and we've talked about it many, many times, and it's not a knock to Sheeta. She said the travel restrictions and a tough time to do it. So she gave a little props where props were due. Yep. But I love putting the guarantee stamp on it. She deserves it, and it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. It's time. There's no arguing that the DMD is the next AEW Women's Champion. And then once she becomes champion, then we could rekindle the fire of what we want to see so bad. Is that feud. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. That would just be pure gold. Once Thunder hopefully she can officially sign with AEW eventually. But rekindle that fire. I would love to see that. But we saw Thunder back in action, kind of unannounced, which was awesome. Made quick do of Jasmine Allure as needed. Climbing up the ranks, as a perfect placement. Just to put Thunder on TV to show the dominance. And really, we've missed her on TV for sure.
So much.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, she shows up on YouTube and in Dark and Elevation and stuff. But this is her theme song. Always gives me chills, and her in-ring aggression always gives me chills. And it's just like something you want so much to see in the division. It's so great.
The fire in this woman is just absolutely. There's nothing quite like it. SPD and even dating back to her debut, we both were just like, damn, like this girl, like she's real, she's legit, she brings it.
Of course.
I thought this was beautiful in a lot of ways, dude. One, segueing from Britt to Thunder in back-to-back segments was absolutely brilliant. And really smart booking and the way it was presented. The AEW commentating team, again, they don't get enough props, but they did a great job of kind of mentioning how Britt is laser focused on Sheeta,
right,
and didn't really address some of the stuff that happened with Thunder. I mean,
true.
Quite honestly, Britt did lose to Thunder in the unsanctioned match, and that was really the definitive storyline arc of Britt's career in AEW over the last 6 months or so. So that is something to keep in mind. I thought that the AEW commentator team did a great job, but I also think it's really smart. Britt is the number 1 contender. Who's your number 2 contender? Thunder Rosa.
Oh, officially, yeah, but officially, I thought she was 5.
No, I think that tonight they announced that Thunder Rosa is the number 2 contender. I will double check that.
Either way, if she's number 2 contender, I think I'm hoping she's 5, so it can build up to that. So right away,
no. So Britt Baker is 10-1, and she's the number 1 contender. And as they mentioned tonight, Thunder Rosa is 10-2. She is the number 2 contender. So I think it's really, really intelligent from me.
Wow.
Like, and this is what I was trying to hammer home. I think it's really intelligent. Yeah. Like, you get Britt as the number 1 contender. She goes into Double or Nothing, wins the world title. Well, of course, right away, bro, you're thinking Thunder versus Britt. You got like the writing is on the wall then. And does Britt? Here's what I'm wondering: does Britt do everything in her power to manipulate the rankings or as champ? Does she do everything in her power to avoid fighting Thunder again? Who again beat her in that unsanctioned match that was so epic. And if you are a Dynamite Download fan, go back and watch our promo video that SPD kind of threw together of our buildup of all of our excitement and anticipation for that St. Patrick's Day match. That to me, I'm wondering, do you do that and you kind of milk that and play it off where Thunder is the number 1 contender now that Britt's the champ, and Britt's trying to do everything she can to avoid her? Or, and right now, SPD, I know that you're zoned in on AEW. You are an AEW guy. But there's a storyline going on in NWA right now that if Thunder Rosa loses her match, she's not allowed to compete outside of NWA. It's a weird stipulation. Wow. But that there is a stipulation out there for a Thunder Rosa match that's happening. Something to keep your eye on. Does AEW repay the favor to NWA, and did they allow some of their talent to cross over? Does Britt try to cost Thunder the match? There's a lot of excitement and interest in this one, and I think that you and I both, we've said it. Team Dynamite Download is 110% behind Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. That feud is the feud of AEW. It's the feud of Dynamite Download. That is the feud that we've been pounding the desk from day one. We believed in that feud. We believe that feud can carry the women's division to new heights. And I think that if you put the belt on Britt and you have Britt versus Thunder with the title on the line, brother, that is main event pay-per-view worthy. That is not main event Dynamite. That is main event
You're right.
pay-per-view worthy.
I agree. We've said that from day one. That whole feud, everything about it is main event worthy, and they finally got it, and they deserve to run it back as another main event for sure. Speaking of main events, our main event of the night, Darby Allin has been main eventing Dynamite pretty consistent over the last few months, and probably not for long after this one, but it was, regardless of me not necessarily being on the Darby train, I think, Bond said it really well. This was wrestled so well by Darby. This started off everything I wanted, just complete squash, whoop down, beat down. But when Darby did get some of his offense, it was impressive on a big guy like Miro. So I got to give the props to that. But like we've said, an angry Miro is a scary Miro, and one that's not going to be stopped.
The best Miro.
It is. You're right.
Love it.
So real quick before we dive into the match, like, who would you rather face, an angry Miro or an angry Pac?
Oh, dude. I guess I would pick Pac just because I'm a fanboy of Pac, and I would love to, if I can get my ass kicked by any professional wrestler, I guess I would pick him because he's my favorite. So, but Miro was, that match earlier in the night, OC versus Pac, was an absolute beating, a beatdown. Miro took it to another level tonight, and I thought that it was really fitting, and this is what I loved about the way the match started. Darby's promo was great as always. His segments where he does these cinematic moments are very well done, but this one was really disrespectful to Miro. It just quite honestly, it was, and you could tell it pissed Miro off on another level. Throughout the match, Miro kept saying, "Am I underwhelming? Not am I underwhelming?" He kept, tell me, am I underwhelming? He would get so mad and mean mugging the camera, getting in Darby's face. You could tell he was pissed, and he started the match before the bell rang. It felt like a good 5 minutes of just absolute beat down before the bell even rang. It felt like the match was long. The thing was longer before the bell rang than it was after the bell rang, didn't it? It felt like it was just
for sure.
It's just an absolute destruction by Miro, and that was exactly what we were calling for. SPD, you were kind of saying this should be like a Brody Lee, and rest in peace, but this should be like a Brody Lee versus Cody match where it was like 7 seconds, just an absolute jaw-dropping beatdown. It didn't play out that way. This was a longer fight. This was a match that extended, and it kind of played into Darby's spirit, and I felt that was important given all that we've seen Darby do, kind of his underdog nature. I felt like it was good. It was allowed his title reign to end in a compelling fashion, especially given the injury that he had, and just what a size mismatch this was. But dude, this was absolutely dominating performance and compelling win as you could ever ask for from Miro. This dude, Miro, absolutely wrecked Darby in this match.
Did he ever? And I am so excited that they kept with the trend, and we did see some outside shenanigans which furthered the story, which is good. Like we said before, a quick segue for Darby into the Paige Sky feud is a perfect way for him to drop the belt to Miro, and then have Miro's just have a complete dominant run. Like, I was so happy for this match, man. I was so happy for the beginning, whole crushing of it, and then just the end. I was hoping for a little bit more time of Miro just kind of celebrating, maybe doing a few more stomps on Darby, or just kind of really rubbing it in, and a good celebration of Miro. But we really didn't get to see that, unfortunately. But I'm sure
the match itself felt like a celebration for Miro. He just was enjoying every moment. Think about when he launched Darby over the barricade, and the crowd was chanting Darby, and Miro was just, come on, Darby, come on. He was just playing he was just loving every moment. Brian's talking about it in the chat. He's watching it now. Brian's on the West Coast, and you could tell his jaws on the floor. I mean, this was a beating. Miro just absolutely wrecked Darby, and it was a great, like, there were moments where Darby had great moments of offense. I really enjoyed when he was on the outside and he locked in that sleeper and kind of was plugging Miro's nose. It was really smart.
Yeah, that was smart. Yeah,
you don't see that a lot. Like, that was just one of those little things, a nuanced moment from Darby that was like, oh wow, like, why don't people do that more? I mean, it just like made the sleeper feel that much more like, holy smokes, like, he's not only choking him out here, but he's really cutting off his oxygen flow. I liked that. And I felt like Darby had his moments where you got to see, all right, this kid has a lot of guts, like it was a really compelling story for him. And I feel like there's a lot more down the road for Darby as somebody who's been trying to get you to join the Darby Express. I feel like although he's no longer champion, there's a lot of compelling stories down the road for Darby, and I feel like his character is very unique in the landscape of professional wrestling, and I think a lot of that goes to him not feeling like he needs to be dominant. There's something about that, like a guy who's willing to make his opponents look great in his matches. And I know that can wear thin sometimes. We've talked about it, the 90-10 formula of a Darby match where 90% offense against him and he wins with the 10% at the end. But I think that can be really a compelling character device. And when you start to segue him into his next feud against a Scorpio Sky, against an Ethan Page, I mean, that could go a long way in helping establish those guys as bona fide threats. And I think that I'm excited to see where that goes. But I know that all of us on Team Dynamite Download are incredibly excited to see where Miro goes from here, where the TNT title goes from here. And from what we saw at the end of Dynamite SPD, you just have to be you have to be like just happy as a clam. Happy as a pig and shit,
all
they say.
For it. I don't want this. I keep talking about rush, but I'm loving seeing Lance Archer, almost be the last face you see on Dynamite, going off into the sunset. But this feud will be so great. But I don't want it rushed, man. I want Miro to get a couple weeks, couple months of just squashing the hint of this. Maybe Lance just go through some bodies first, and then eventually, the head. If you rush this to something like Double or Nothing, I want more of a build personally. But of course, anytime those two get in the ring, whether it be next week or the following week, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I'm not ready for Lance to take a clean L to Miro. These are two main event guys, and this is it would be a main event match, and it could be too soon, but it could be a title change type of scenario, or it should be, in my opinion. Like ultimately a Lance Archer dethroning a Miro. So I'm not in no rush wanting to rush this, but it was a lot of fun to see for sure. And Miro's performance, earned a unanimous top performer of the night from us here, man. I mean, you can't argue this at all.
No.
You cannot. This is the Miro we've been dying to see. This is the Miro we know and we wanted since day one. He came in with a bang and then fizzled off. And then he had another bang, then fizzled off, then fizzle. He had an awesome, that Arcade Anarchy match was pretty entertaining. It's hard to win versus three guys, as we saw Lance Archer get taken down by the Elite and Kenny Omega and all that. So both are two huge hosses, but Miro finally stood tall with gold around his waist, and deservedly so. And this will be one of the, he's going to hold that title, and he'll probably be one of the best champs so far.
I think everybody sees it, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who were on your side with like, okay, Miro needs to dominate this match. Right. Miro needs to win in convincing fashion, and Miro needs to be a champion that wrecks people for a while.
For sure.
Especially coming fresh off the heels of a Darby championship reign, where it was quite the opposite, right? Darby snuck out a lot of wins. He was
True.
the Darby formula where he was losing most of the matches and he would come back and through his craftiness, through his smarts, through his guts, he would find a way to win. This would be a nice way to juxtapose that former champion versus a new one who is dominant and emerges from the ashes, like you talked about, almost a joke where he was the best man and kind of a side character to Kip Sabian at one point. Like, how weird is that to say? But to have this dude then just go on an absolute wrecking ball massacre of the AEW, and it would be fitting because, and it would be a nice touch, I think, for AEW because Kenny's clearly playing that cowardly heel champion, right? Like Kenny, although we love Kenny and we know if you put Kenny in the ring week after week after week, we'd be getting an absolute treat, and it would be unbelievable. But you could tell they're allowing Kenny to play that cowardly heel, keeping him out of the ring a ton, like having him not have those singles defenses a lot, allowing Miro to get on TV and be a dominant champion week after week after week would give us some really compelling television. So I really think that that's a nice thing that AEW has in their back pocket now.
For sure.
Miro versus the Murder Hawk, dude. Like that match could be one of the more fun Hoss battles that we could have in AEW. I mean, if you could pick any two guys to go head to head with as far as like monsters that are badasses and fun to watch, that's it right there, man. I know. I mean that pits your guy Lance Archer against Bonds' guy Miro. I'm in the middle here, just saying, give me more, give me all that you can give. I love it all.
Me more.
Maybe, maybe the big guy comes, but I think that would be like just an awesome way to build. I tend to agree with you. I think it would be hard. We love Lance Archer. And when you think about all his big title opportunities, he's come up short. Moxley, Cody. It would be a bummer to see him kind of be winless in these big title opportunities, unless it led to something, unless it led to a character change, a character shift. Maybe he breaks away from Jake. Maybe he turns more babyface. I don't know where you would go with Lance Archer after a loss to Miro. I'm sure AEW has plans, but I think that after what we saw tonight, SPD, it's only a matter of time before we see the Murder Hawk and the Best Man go toe to toe, and that will be.
I can't wait.
That will be epic.
I know. That will be epic for sure. Now, leading into next week's card, we won't break it down too much, but what match are you looking forward to the most? We have Serena Deeb making a return against Red Velvet. Anthony Ogogo is going to be in the ring versus Austin Gunn. Young Bucks versus the Varsity Blondes for sure. And then Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal. What of those originally announced matches?
I want to hear yours first because there's a lot of names there that I'm hearing that like are
a lot of fresh faces.
SPD, I know you love Sydal.
Yeah.
I know that you got me to really remember. I mean, Evan Bourne was a great character and he felt like he was a no doubt superstar, and then kind of reinvented himself, and now Sydal is really compelling, fun to watch in the ring. But I know that like there's a lot of names there that are kind of getting new opportunities. The Varsity Blondes, we love the Varsity Blondes here. We got an opportunity to interview Griff Garrison. What are you looking forward to? Because I know what I'm looking forward to the most, but I want to hear what you have to say.
It's a tough one, but honestly, like I was kind of honorable mention is Deeb's return, but Cage and Sydal, I'm looking forward to that. Seeing Cage in the ring, like two kind of unique styles, I think will be more of a longer fought battle, good storytelling, and good pace. So I'm looking forward to that for a pure wrestling aspect.
Okay.
So
for me, you mentioned it. Your honorable mention is my pick. I've talked about it in the past. We've really missed Serena Deeb in AEW.
You say it like every week almost.
I'm a huge fan of her. She's like she gives me like Bret Hart vibes, man. Like I just get this like she is such a pro's pro I just every time she's in the ring, I just find more and more things I admire about her approach.
Yeah.
I think that she's absolutely excellent in the ring, and to see her go against Red Velvet for the NWA Women's Championship, I mean, that is a huge match, bro. I mean, I still think about when we interviewed Thunder Rosa. Thunder talked about how Red Velvet back then, she was somebody who was a sleeper and who had a lot of potential. And Thunder was right. Red Velvet has emerged in a brand new light and looks great. And after her feud with Jade, really stepped up to the plate and was not afraid of the powerhouse of Jade. I think that Red Velvet versus Deeb is going to be a freaking awesome match, bro. Like, I think that those two are going to go at it. They're going to tear it up. Their in-ring styles are going to really work well together too. I think both very smart wrestlers. Deeb with a great technical base. Red Velvet also kind of has that all-around skill set that will work well and mesh well with Deeb. I've missed Deeb a lot in the AEW's women's division, and so no doubt about it, I'm really geeked about seeing her return. And I think hopefully it leads to more opportunities of her on Dynamite going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am, we're gonna hear from the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, I'm sure, as well, and then something with the Elite. So that's going to be, as always, you said it best. AEW is firing on all cylinders. Reading that Dirty Water, man. That is a great way to end. They are seriously just rising to their own pinnacle of the ratings.
Yep.
It should be AEW the Pinnacle, because they are really rising to the top with the pure quality content and the depth of the roster.
Yeah,
it is so fun to watch, man. I can't wait. But thank you guys so much for joining us again. Love all the
Great
chatter
show.
in the chat. This is a fun show, a perfect show to follow up, an amazing blood and guts. But I love interacting. We love interacting with you guys in the chat room, and you guys are chatting with each other.
Great comments in the chat tonight.
Excellent chat room, you guys. Keep it up. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a merch store now. So it is live. It's in our link in our bio on our Instagram and our Twitter. So we do officially finally have some DD merch available, so that's some cool stuff. But we appreciate the support, the chatter, and always coming back and spreading the word and positivity, guys. So have a great rest of your week. We love y'all, and can't wait to chat with you guys again soon. So
Friday night. The Marks have merch.
The Marks have merch.